You got a gun, got a big gun, got a gun, it's not a real one, and all you ever think about is running away, all you ever think about is trying to stay away from me.
And welcome back to another episode of the LoudMouth MMA podcast. I, of course, am your host, Kyle Steele. No Tony this week. I'd like to say he will be sorely missed, but I don't want to lie to my fans and friends. Joining us is Mr. Sean Ihaz. Hello, Sean.
How you doing? We had that loudmouth bet with Tony last week, and I never paid it off just because the week got crazy, and I decided I was going to do it live. Like, I thought about it. I had some time finally. I think yesterday afternoon, I went, it'd be a good idea. Let's just do it live on the podcast. It'd be a neat little thing.
Sure.
And Tony bails out because he's, I don't know what he's doing. He said he's got to take his girlfriend to dinner. Listen, when you're an adult, like Kyle and I, you do Valentine's Day on the weekend when you don't have kids at work.
Or you do it when you can get someone to watch your kids, which for my wife and I was yesterday. So
exactly. You know what? You plan better when you're an adult, Tony.
Yeah, well, listen, and this is no mystery, and just in case people don't know, I'll give you some behind the scenes. Here's some behind the scenes. Everybody wants to see how this sausage gets made. So let me give you some behind the scenes information about Tony. He is a gigantic piece of shit. So there you go. There's some behind the scenes. Only going to hear that here on LoudMouth MMA. Sean,
I love that you just said that, and this episode will be on his website in hours.
Good. Oh, gosh. You know what? I want to do a couple things different. First of all, Sean, happy Valentine's Day. I got love for you. It's I've never seen you in person, but I got mad love for you for joining me on the show. I hope you and your wife have a good Valentine's Day this weekend. And
we will. We started a new tradition of scarfing down pizza like a couple of fucking animals. So, why not?
Justin and I went out last night. So we have kind of two anniversaries, and this is pretty similar with a lot of people. We're definitely not alone in this. We got married, about 6 months before our wedding. So we went to the courthouse. We got the document. So that way you didn't have to worry about that, right? Like, we get to have the wedding, and the wedding is what it is. So we got married in Texas on Valentine's Day. So technically, our 5-year anniversary is today.
Congratulations! I did not know that.
Yep. And then
do you have 6 months in between?
We do. Yeah, almost exactly. So our actual anniversary, quote unquote, is August 10th. So, we didn't celebrate. We don't celebrate an anniversary on Valentine's Day. We just make a note of it, right? We're like, hey, by the way, we've been married for 5 years today, but we don't make a big deal about it. Our anniversary is going to be in August.
See, that's the opposite. See, I would think that's the day you actually got married. You got the piece of paper. That's your wedding day to me, because we got married. My wife and I had a small ceremony in Disney World, May 18th, and that's what we consider our anniversary. I wanted a bigger party with some of my friends up here in New York, because Disney was very small, and that was 5 days later, May 23rd, and that's kind of the throwaway second. All right, yeah, we had we had our celebration party that day, but we got married May 18th, so that's kind of interesting.
I mean, it's because we had a wedding. I mean, we had all friends and family out. We had it in Ohio. We got married in Texas, but had our wedding in Ohio, which is kind of cool. We had everybody come out. We had a reception. I mean, it was a whole thing, wedding cake and shebang. So, I mean, that we just consider that our wedding, because that's the whole thing at the courthouse was just to get the piece of paper, and then we don't got to worry about it as you're moving along. But one of the cool things we got to do, and this is a good idea for other people, if you're listening to this and maybe you're engaged, let me give you a cool idea, because we just got to use it today, which is pretty awesome. So we have, on our wedding, we had a box, and in the box was a bottle of wine from the year that we met, and then it was 2 wine glasses, and then we wrote our own vows. We put our vows in there, and then as we've been going along for the last 5 years, any notes or cards that we leave for each other, we drop in the box. So the idea was, if you have a big fight and you're going to get divorced, you pull the box out, or you open it up on your 5-year anniversary and drink the wine. So that's what we did today. So it's a really cool thing. it was, I didn't think about it at the time, but like it was kind of sentimental today. So if you're engaged to get married, I would suggest that you do that. So, all right, this is the Valentine's Day episode. We got to talk a little sappy to get going. So here's the other thing I want to do, and I want to start doing this every week. So I want you to plug something real quick in the MMA world that is either a website or a podcast that you are not affiliated with.
Whew. We started this last week, and
I want to keep it going.
You didn't give me a heads up here, so I did.
Let me give mine. Let me give mine, and you can think. I'm going to go ahead and plug the Ragin' MMA show. It is Cajun Johnson, and his co-host is a name that I cannot pronounce. We just call him Shaq. I interviewed Cajun. He's a really, really cool dude. If you guys haven't listened to him talk, he has quite the personality. So go check out that. It's Ragin' MMA. It's RAGIN, like apostrophe. I think if you just type in Ragin' without the apostrophe in iTunes, you're fine. MMA, and go check him out. It's a really good show. It's weekly. It's just a good little show.
All right, so I'll go with I appreciate everyone listening to these breakdown podcasts. Sometimes we have great weeks, sometimes we have bad weeks.
Sure.
For example, 2 weeks ago I was hot. Last week was ice cold. You always should listen to multiple people. So I'll give out another breakdown podcast. Dan Tom, Protect Your Neck podcast is another really solid one. So
Absolutely.
He does good breakdowns. He does a lot more. He has some good written articles too, content pluses for each fighter that if you're more of a, text-based person and you kind of can study and absorb that way, Dan Tom has great stuff over there at Protect Your Neck.
Fantastic. All right. That's perfect. That is exactly how I wanted to start this podcast. And I'm going to do that every week. Every week, let's try to mix it up, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm affiliated with tons of websites. I just started working with MMA Sucka this week. We both have a pretty wide base here, so we should start helping out the community as much as we can, if able. So just little stuff. Little stuff helps. All right. We are not going to talk about Bellator 194, which is this Friday. We are going to talk about UFC Fight Night 126 taking place in my old stomping grounds of Austin, Texas. There are 12 bouts as of right now. We shall see how that works out. Let's go and start from the top and kind of work our way down. That way we could spend the most time on the big stuff. So our main event this week is Donald Cerrone taking on Yancy Medeiros. Also, real quick, Sunday card. Correct? Alert.
Yeah, it is.
Alert. Sunday card.
Stop this shit.
The main card starts at 9 p.m. It is on Sunday. So make sure to
9
not mess it
p.m.?
up. 9 p.m. Eastern is when the main card starts.
I don't even care
Not
what
10.
president.
Not 10 p.m. It's 9, which is nicer for us on the East Coast. It is nicer. You get a little hour earlier, but it's still a Sunday, which I can't stand. So Donald Cerrone taking on Yancy Medeiros. Of course, Yancy Medeiros was just in, a Fight of the Year candidate fight his last time out against Cowboy Oliveira. He's strung together a 3-fight win streak here. His only loss, before that, coming to Francisco Trinaldo and Dustin Poirier. Then you have to go back to 2014 where he lost against Jim Miller, etc. But he's stringing together some wins here. It's not the biggest names in the world, but they're still names, and that's what matters. Conversely, Cerrone is trending in the wrong direction. He has lost 3 straight. So we got 2 streaks. Someone's streak is, I guess, one person's streak will continue. We shall say, right? I imagine unless they switch it. My prediction though is that they flip. I do think Cerrone wins this fight. So I think you're going to have 3 straight losses for Cerrone. He's going to get a win. And you're going to have 3 straight wins for Medeiros. He's going to get a loss. So I think they're going to switch here. The guys who Cowboy are losing to, listen, the MMA math thing is a little bit funky. I understand that. But he's losing to Masvidal. He's losing to Till. And in between there, the Robbie Lawler fight was just a goofy little decision. I still don't really agree with it. I rewatched the fight again with a buddy. I don't see it. It's one of those. It's definitely not a robbery, right? I'm not going to call it that, and I understand it. But come on, man. But anyway, nevertheless, an extremely close fight with Lawler. And yeah, it's just this seems like Yancey is jumping up a little too quick here, and I think Cowboy still has it. I don't think he's lost it here. So I guess that really is the question: how far has Cowboy fallen? Conversely, has Yancey Medeiros started to turn his career around a little bit, and is he going to continue moving up? So those are my questions, Sean.
So real quick, I pulled up MMA decisions, and most of the media scored it for Lawler.
Okay, sure.
Quickly looking, it's like 15-1-4, something like that.
Okay, but that makes sense.
And I got it. It was fine. I kind of agree with your take on that. Could have gone either way. Interesting here is a lot of people are picking Medeiros. Actually, I know you don't listen to a bunch of stuff before we record or read. Most people seem to be that I've heard seem to be on the underdog Medeiros, and I'm actually leaning that way. But something for all you Medeiros bettors out there, and there are quite a few. There's another narrative I kind of came across and I wanted to share. It's the after Cowboy Oliveira narrative. You go into a fight with Cowboy Oliveira, you don't come out the fucking same. You just don't. And some stats behind, we'll go back through his history. Obviously, him and Medeiros had that war. By the way, that was only 2 months ago. Like that's a quick turnaround from that.
Yeah, it's a real quick turnaround. Given I forgot to mention that.
So careful of the Medeiros turnaround. So before that, we're going to go through Cowboy Oliveira's fights just to show you what fighting him seems to do to people. Ryan LaFleur, he might have just woken up from that fucking uppercut. That was ridiculous. No stats there yet, no statistics to back it up. So we'll let that one go. Tim Means, since his first fight against Cowboy, that no contest, is 1-3, and his one win was not that impressive against Alex Garcia. Before that, Cowboy took Will Brooks' soul. Will Brooks is, I think, 0-2 after fighting Cowboy, and he was supposed to be the next big prospect here in the UFC coming from Bellator. Before that, Cowboy Oliveira beat the shit out of James Muntasiri, who I think had one more fight and then retired. Like, he sent him packing. He didn't want to do this no more. Then you had Donald Cerrone. Fought Cowboy. It was a Cowboy versus Cowboy. That was a quick sub. There was no real war there. And Cerrone has even struggled since then, but that was a while ago. And again, I can't attribute that one to Cowboy Oliveira. And before that, he faced Peter Hallman and Joey Merritt, who have not been seen in the UFC since. And then KJ Noons, he took his soul, and I think he retired pretty shortly after fighting Cowboy Oliveira. Yeah, after Cowboy Oliveira, KJ Noons lost to Josh Berkman and then went away. Just fighting Cowboy Oliveira seems to do something to you. Now Medeiros has got the whole Hawaiian thing and Warrior. He gets hurt in multiple fights. Cowboy Cerrone has real trouble with forward pressure and southpaws, and that is the two things that Medeiros does. I think he's gonna walk down Cerrone, and he has that big overhand left. And with just the way the stance is set up, the body kicks could come into play for Medeiros. Medeiros has also been hurt to the body, and Cerrone is the better kickboxer, I think. If this becomes a brawl, and despite Cowboy's persona, he doesn't march forward a lot. He's willing to exchange, obviously, but he doesn't march forward a ton. I actually think Cerrone's path to victory is through takedowns. Medeiros is susceptible to that. Both guys have been hurt in the past. Medeiros just has been able to recover as of late. Cerrone's been in war after war after war. He's coming back after, I think, 4 or 5 month layoff. Probably should have a little bit more time as well. I think this fight is going to get into the later rounds, and that just favors Medeiros. I don't think Cerrone's going to be able to get the quick finish he needs. And I think this is going to drag on late, and Cerrone's going to get a late finish, but I'm not confident enough to bet that. Cerrone's a -160 favorite. Medeiros is +140. Just those intangibles I mentioned keep me away from a bet. But when I see the breakdown of styles, the marching forward, backing up Cerrone, and that overhand left, I think, and his chin, even though he gets hurt, he seems to recover. They make me want to pick Medeiros straight up. So I do have a bet on this fight, actually, but it is to not go the distance. I have 3 units, does not go to decision, at minus 280. I thought there was great value. I can't see this going 5 rounds. These guys both get hurt too much. They both want exchange. I don't see it reaching the judges.
Well, I mean,
and for Pick'em, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, and Pick'em Medeiros.
Okay, I think if the narrative is that it's not going to, that it's there's going to be a finish, if that's the narrative, then I would imagine the lean has to be Medeiros.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so I guess that's where you're coming from. I mean, Medeiros is going to be real hard to get out of there. You know, there is, I mean, let me look how far back you got to go. There is precedent. So Dustin Poirier back in 2015, Jim Miller 2014, Kabylov 2013. So you did have a streak there of getting choked out and KO'd, where, you know, for 3 straight losses, it was KO, TKO, choke, KO, TKO punches. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's precedent there. So, no, I mean, I guess I still think it favors Medeiros, though. I mean, I get that there's some precedent there, but I still think it favors Medeiros. And both these guys have a lot of finishes on the record. You know, the last 3 wins by Medeiros, in fact, you know, have been finishes. And before Cowboy started his little losing streak, he had 4 straight finishes. Before that, he was finished by RDA, and then after that, he's been finished twice. So yeah, these are guys who win by finishes or lose by finishes. So it does seem like, yeah, in the distance is definitely the play here.
And
so,
he got 5 rounds this time.
Yeah. What were the odds?
Minus 280.
Okay. But still,
I'm paying a lot of juice, but
yeah, I mean, you could max bet something like that, and I think it would be very reasonable. You know, I'd feel much more comfortable max betting in the distance than max betting either one of these people.
Yeah, so. This just seemed like, you know, I can make a unit here, and I have 2 other pretty big straight bets that are both in the main card, so I'm going to be sweating pretty late. So I have 2 big bets coming up straight up.
Fantastic. All right, moving on down. We have Derek Lewis taking on Marcin Tybura. Excuse me. Derek Lewis, of course, coming off of his loss against Mark Hunt. I believe that was his first. Was that his first loss in the UFC? Let me look. No, he had lost to Sean Jordan and Mitrione in the UFC.
That wasn't even his most recent Octagon. I mean, that wasn't the last time he's made an impact in the UFC because the back issue.
Well, yeah, he was going to fight Fabricio and, of course, pulled out of the fight, you know, like the day before because of a back issue.
Got Walt Harris killed.
And Jesus, at least Verdum went easy on him. He just took him down and grabbed his arm and let him tap and called it a day. But anyway, I thought he was going to lose that fight anyway. This is a much better fight for him stylistically. Although, listen, here's the question you have to ask yourself. And this is it. There's one question. Can Derek Lewis hold this? Doesn't matter who it is. Person X. Can Derek Lewis hold Person X down? And can Derek Lewis TKO Person X? That's it. So then you just have to answer that question. If there is a possibility that he could do it, I think you lean Derek Lewis. And I don't mean just a simple possibility. I mean, there's a pathway there. If there is an actual pathway to getting there that isn't crazy, the lean is Derek Lewis. If it's going to be really hard for him to do that, he will not win. That is literally the only way he wins. Like, it's astounding that people have not caught on to this. Watch Derek Lewis fights. That's it. He has one thing. And if he doesn't do that, like when people are calling him a knockout artist, he's not a knockout. I don't think he's ever knocked anybody out. He might have knocked out one person. Like, he doesn't knock people out. He doesn't even knock people down. He
grounds and pounds you out.
He grounds and pounds. That's it. So the question I have for you, Sean, is can Derek Lewis ground and pound Tybura?
Well, just to play off what you said, I mentioned we both of us talk to many other people in the community. I mean, a bunch of Twitter groups, Facebook groups, all that stuff. So, and I always give credit where it's due. If I happen to hear something and come on, I'm not going to pass it off as my own. This made me laugh. Person I talked to on Twitter, or in a couple different groups, I think, is the MMA Trader. His comment today was, can Derek Lewis get his big black ass on top of Marcin Tybura and pound him out of there? And just the phrasing of it, I think there's a little more to it. That's really it in a nutshell. Can he find his way on top of him?
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Tybura, I think, is too skilled. He had a good account of himself in the fight against Fabricio Verdum. So they both landed over 120 significant strikes. Verdum only got one takedown. I don't think he was looking for a ton of them, though. Tybura also has got a really good kicking game. And if you think back a little bit, Derek Lewis was nearly finished by Travis Brown due to body kicks. We've seen Derek Lewis hurt a lot in the UFC. He was losing to Shamil Abdurakhimov before he got a fourth round finish. You can arguably say he lost to Roy Nelson. Excuse me, I'm trying to cough. It sounds like my voice is cracking. That's awesome. He's just Derek Lewis is, and I like the guy's personality. He's funny. He makes me laugh on Twitter, but he's gotten a little overhyped with some of these wins, and he does it by an entertaining way. When he does win, he gets on top of just some most vicious ground and pound we've ever seen, especially at heavyweight. I don't think he's going to be able to close the distance to do that to Tybura. I think Tybura is going to use his kicks to keep range. He's clearly the far more polished striker. My one concern is that Lewis is fighting in his hometown. I don't think it'll get to the judges, but he's a local hero after all the stuff with the hurricane and pulling people out of the flood. And I've heard that narrative a little bit. You have to remember though, that'll get the crowd on this side. These judges are from, it's Sal D'Amato every card. It's Las Vegas people. You have to wonder how much sometimes that will come into play. But it's worth mentioning. I think Tybura is more technical. I don't think Lewis can get down. I think actually I'm going to call late second round finish for Tybura via a body kick. I just don't think Derek Lewis, he's been overhyped. He's talking about retiring. That back issue is not going to go away. Back issues fuck you up. And I have 3 units on Marcin Tybura at plus 125 because the line seemed wrong.
Yeah, agreed. I just think so. The big issue again, he only wins by getting the ground and pound, and as you noted, having that back problem is really going to affect his ability to lift up big dudes and keep it's not. But it's not just get them down; it's get them down and keep them down. I mean that really becomes the issue: is can you do that? And when you're that much of a one-trick pony, I just have a hard and I'm not even like a big Tybura fan. I've bet against him quite a bit. I think he gets the win here. What are the odds?
Tybura, when I bet it, was plus 125. Right now, still is Marcin Tybura. Wow, it's actually totally flipped. I might have inputted that wrong. I did. I had to contact Bet MMA Tips. So I'm just going off my Bet MMA Tips page. I must have bet this at Tybura.
Minus 125?
Yeah, that must have been it.
Okay, so he's a minus 125 right now?
Yeah, Tybura's he's now up to minus 145.
Okay, well, so I think people are seeing the same kind of stuff. All right, let's move on down. We have James Vick taking on Francisco Trinaldo. I think the easy thing here is to say that James Vick wins. I think that's where everybody, without even really giving it too much thought, I think that's where everybody wants to go. Is to go, yeah, James Vick, he's got this. I like why anybody ever counts Trinaldo out of a fight is beyond me. I mean, this guy is he's one of the more bizarre fighters in the UFC in that you never understand how he's winning, but he just does it, man. He just does it, and he gets it. Didn't he have? Is he the one that had that nutty ass fight with Yancy Medeiros too? That like went to a decision somehow.
Who is this? Sorry, I'm still trying to. I'm trying to correct
Trinaldo. It was Trinaldo. It was Yancy Medeiros. It was just wild.
Yep.
The only guy he's lost to, he's lost to 2 guys since 2014: Michael Chiesa and Kevin Lee. Those 2 guys basically just fought each other for a title eliminator not that long ago. So, I don't know. I just Trinaldo is James Vick has some hype behind him because he's tall. He's 6'3". He has a 76-inch reach, and he weighs 155 pounds. I mean, that is unreal. The problem is he's never really legitimately fought anybody.
Whoa! I'm gonna
listen. I listen. The Abel Trujillo, okay, stylistically, could not be any better for a guy like James Vick. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. Marco Polo Reyes, right? Who he got right? Was it Marco Polo Reyes?
Yep.
Who he got right after that fight is, again in the UFC, he tends to get in these kind of slugging type fights, right? And you're going to get caught, and that's what happened, right? James Vick was able to play into that. But at the time, going into that fight, Marco Polo Reyes was like plus 300. So it wasn't like, right? It wasn't like he was that good of competition. It was like plus 300. It was pretty. It was, James Vick comeback was minus 400 in that fight, and Abel Trujillo was a minus 130. Right? He was an underdog against Joe Duffy, which I thought was kind of bizarre.
Yep.
Because I remember talking about at the time, like that seemed kind of odd that he was an underdog to a guy like Joe Duffy. But listen, he gets Joe Duffy out of there too. I mean, I just don't think that, like, everybody talks about how good his competition is. If his competition was so good, he wouldn't be a minus 400, a minus 130, and then bizarrely a plus 140 against Joe Duffy. The easiest person he fought was the plus 140.
There's also a narrative out there, and he's posted a bunch on Twitter. Nobody wants to fight him, and the dude is good. He's technical. He's long. He has submissions. He has quality striking. I think some of the hype on this guy is real, and I think this is actually a good matchup here against Trinaldo, who is, it's got to be 40 or almost 40. I think clearly slowing down. He didn't look, if I remember right, he didn't look amazing in the Jim Miller fight, I think. Well, and that's when I didn't watch. I watched the Medeiros, the Felder, and the Lee fights.
And let me say this too: if I'm gonna harp on Vic, I obviously got to harp on Trinaldo. I mean, his last win was against Jim Miller. Jim Miller's shot. He's completely shot. I don't even really know why he's still fighting in the UFC at this point, other than, I guess, to obviously collect a paycheck. Before that, Paul Felder, that's a pretty legit win. Paul Felder, that's probably his most legit win. Same thing against Medeiros. I mean, he went toe for toe with Medeiros. That was a nutty fight, man. And he was able to survive that. Before that, it was Ross Pearson, whatever, Chad Laprise. Sure. I mean, he was a plus 305 in that Chad Laprise fight. I mean, people were really not expecting him to win that.
I think Trinaldo was on the door of a title shot against, Kevin Lee, and that thing that derailed him. That's the fight that, unfortunately for him, is going to, keep him short of ever getting a title shot. I think James Vick goes through him here. I think Vick is going to use his reach. I know Trinaldo's a good kickboxer, but Vick is going to present some problems and just put the pressure on Trinaldo, wear him down, grind him out. We've seen Trinaldo fade. I think Vick's going to get a late stoppage. I just think he's going to wear out Trinaldo.
Man, it's one of those, like, it's hard for me to even explain, but I'm on Trinaldo here.
LoudMouth bet?
Sure.
Because I also have 4 units on James Vick at minus 210.
I mean, listen, I'm not even remotely as confident on Trinaldo. I wouldn't even bet him. But absolutely, I'll take a loudmouth bet. Why not? I don't care.
Let's do it.
I mean, all I got to do is do a video. See, right there, Sean, I just showed you how to do it. I'm not even that confident, and I'm still taking the loudmouth bet. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. It's just a video. You and Tony are like, you're like getting arguments about whether or not you should do it. Like, guys, it's a video. Just do it. If you lose, you got to spend 90 seconds doing a video.
See, if you had just talked to me about this on the side one day, maybe, and just said, be between me and you. But you told me it irritated some people, and now I want to keep doing it.
Oh gosh, right.
And I won't elaborate on that.
No, please don't. All right, move on down. We have Thiago Alves taking on Curtis Melinder, who is making his UFC debut, I believe, He is. He's making his UFC debut. He was not an LFA champion, was he? Why was I thinking he was the champion over there in LFA? He's been in 3 straight main events, but I don't think he had the title. He had the title in a promotion called FCOC and had the title in CXF. But, he's on a 6 fight win streak here against, decent little competition. Definitely not the worst. Coming in with a 14-3 record. We know Mr. Pitbull. We kind of know what his thing is. His last 2 losses coming, of course, to Jim Miller and Carlos Condit. He's beat the likes of Patrick Cote, Jordan Mean, and back in 2014 beating Seth Basinski. There's a very real possibility that this fight doesn't even happen. I would say if there's a fight that might get knocked off, it's probably this one. He has a bit of a history of not showing up. So, we'll see. We'll see if this one winds up happening. I don't have a lot of information.
Who are you talking about right there?
Thiago Alves.
It wasn't his fault last time.
Wasn't his fault last time, correct.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there.
It was not his fault last time, correct.
Yeah,
but
because
before
Zach
that,
Cummings slipped in the shower or some weird shit.
It was, but I think he passed out weight cutting and slipped. Yeah.
That was bizarre.
But yeah, but before that, it was his fault. Before that, it was his fault. Before that, it was his fault. And I believe before that, it was his fault. So, the streak got broken. But don't be surprised if the streak comes back. I don't have a lot of information here. I mean, it's a guy making his debut against a guy who's kind of a gatekeeper in the division. So I imagine in this scenario, the gatekeeper probably wins. But at the same time, I haven't watched any tape on Melinder, so talk to me.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm leaning Alves. It's not really confident. I just think Melinder is just going to he throws heavy. I think his nickname is like Hands of Steel or something like that. I'm off my nickname game today. The point is he's going to try and keep it on the feet, throw hard. I'm thinking of the wrong guy because Tapology says his nickname is Courteous. What the fuck is that?
Curtis Melinder? That's pretty badass. I like that.
I hope that actually sticks and that we get to hear Bruce Buffer say Curtis Melinder. And I'm just going to stall for 1 second because I actually want to see what UFC has and see if I can really kind of look forward to this.
I really hope that's his name.
No bio here, so it might be. That would be fantastic. He's going to what Melinder's going to do is he throws heavy. Alves has the takedown upside if he wants to use that. He's going to be able to use his reach and his experience, and I think it just kind of outpoint Melinder on the feet. He doesn't want to get in a firefight here, and like I said, he has the takedown upside. So those things have me leaning towards Thiago Alves. It's not with any degree of confidence. That's really it. You kind of hit it. The quick summary in this one, because I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, is Alves is the gatekeeper. I don't think Melinder's quite ready. I don't think he's quite there. The worry is that Alves has fallen off the cliff, and we're about to see it.
All right, fantastic. Moving on down the main card, we have 2 fights left on said main card. We have Mr. Steven Pearson. This is a featherweight fight. Mr. Steven Peterson, who is also making his... Well, he's not making his UFC debut. He lost a split decision against Benito Lopez. Is Lopez the guy that just fought? Is he the one that just fought like Andre Feely? Who did he fight? Hold on, give me 1 second, because I remember Benito Lopez. It's Albert Morales. He fought Albert Morales at 135. Okay. Apologies. So he's not making his UFC debut, but this is like his quote real debut. Because it wasn't on the Contender Series. And conversely, we have, Brandon Davis, who just fought. Brandon Davis fought Kyle Bochniak January 20th. So he is making
fucked me good.
He is making a very, very quick turnaround. He's the one that had that awesome fight on the Contender Series against Austin Arnett. Austin Arnett also just got signed too. That was probably one of the best fights of the entire show. Like if the entire Contender Series was that Austin Arnett Brandon Davis fight. So yeah, two guys from the show fighting each other. How big of a deal do you think it is Davis coming into a fight with basically 2-3 weeks off?
Well, he also said, which I wish I would have known before that fucking fight, because as you can tell, I had quite a bit of Brandon Davis on DraftKings because I like the output. And I still don't think Bochniak's any good. But apparently he has a hip injury, and I don't know how much that's going to clear up in 2 or 3 weeks. He also is taking this fight on short notice. Peterson's coming up from 135 to 145, so Davis should be the bigger guy. I'm hoping Davis, the guy we saw in Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, and the guy that fought Kyle Bochniak are two way different guys. I'm hoping the real Brandon Davis shows up. I'm going to stick with him here. Peterson's going to want to try and get this fight to the ground. Davis stuffed 12 of 15 takedown attempts from Bochniak. His takedown defense is fine. I don't think Peterson's going to be able to get him down, and Peterson has showed himself to be really hittable. I'm just hoping Davis picks up the activity because he just wasn't active enough. Maybe he was too worried about the takedown attempts of Bochniak. Maybe it was some UFC jitters, but he needs that volume. Because he's bigger, I think he's a better striker and can stop the takedowns. He's my pick here, but I'm not nearly as confident as I was last time because he obviously just let me down. But the pick is Brandon Davis.
Yeah, I think I'm going the same thing here. I liked what I saw from him, and again, I don't remember who I picked. I think it was pretty close, and I think what you saw was exactly how I thought it was going to kind of play out of my mind. Bochniak has a tendency to make fights just ugly, and it's
Fuck
tough.
that guy.
It's tough. It's tough to fight guys like that. It always is. Jeremy Kennedy got pretty much, he lost the fight clearly. But the same, I kind of said about him, and it kind of went that way. That it doesn't matter who you're fighting, no matter how good they are. I mean, it's just a guy like Kennedy or a guy like Bochniak. They're very similar in my mind.
Kennedy just got fucking Big Brother last week.
He did, but a lot of people expected Kennedy to get finished because of how good Volkanovski is.
He
and I was
did.
like, did he? Oh,
Yeah, he got finished the second round.
I forgot. The third round, was it?
No, it was the very end of the second. If only Mario Yamasaki was in there.
It would have gone. Listen, if Yamasaki was in there, they would have added 2 more rounds.
Be Warrior!
Why did I think that fight went all 3? Maybe I'm thinking of the Bochniak fight. Maybe that's real.
No.
Maybe I'm thinking of Bochniak Davis.
You're probably, because that's how many fucking shots Jeremy Kennedy took. It felt like 3 rounds of fighting.
God, man. I couldn't believe that he was lasting. But anyway, yeah, I just think Brandon Davis it's 2 prospects going against each other here, and Brandon Davis just to me clearly looks like the better prospect. So you kind of have to go with him until he proves you wrong. And I don't hold a loss to Bochniak that much against him. Like again, but that's Bochniak's MO, man. Just making weird fights happen, man. So I don't really hold that against him. Let's see him here. If he loses in a fight like this, then yeah, I mean he's kind of a dud. But I think this is the fight to see. First fight on the main card. This is the only one that anyone cares about. Of course, we have Mr. Super Sage Northcutt taking on. I can never pronounce his first name. Do you want to give it to me?
Shitface, T-Bowl, I guess. Ty-Bowl. Who gives a fuck?
Goody.
Goody. He's about to get cut.
Why don't you
Who
like him?
cares?
Why don't you like him?
Because he sucks. He sucks. Now, granted, he made me money. I bet him against Andrew Holbrook because Holbrook sucks worse. I just don't like him because I think he's fucking god-awful.
Well, I will say he loses by he lost to Timu Packalin by getting choked out in like 20 seconds. He lost to OAM by getting choked out in the 3rd round. He got knocked out by Chad Laprise relatively quickly, and then conversely knocked out Andrew Holbrook. He's now fighting Sage Northcutt. The way that Sage loses, of course, is getting choked out. So that's really the question now with Sage. I mean, it's just what's people's BJJ like? Because if the BJJ is even If he's a black belt, then Sage is fucked. So I mean, where is he BJJ wise?
I don't know. It's not good though. Gowdy is not any good. He's not going to take him down. And you have to, to draw some comparisons to Sage Northcutt to Jake Matthews. I mentioned last week that Jake Matthews was going to be fine, but I thought it was going to take him a couple more fights. Oh, that 23-year-old shows some improvement. I get Lee didn't look like himself. He didn't look good, but Jake Matthews is improved. He's young. Same thing with Sage Northcutt. Also, Sage Northcutt is now training at I hate Sage.
Alpha Male.
Team Alpha Male. I just got distracted because I pulled up Sage's profile because I wanted to see if it's got his BJJ rank in there. And do you have any heroes?
No, I don't care what Sage's rank is. It's irrelevant.
No, I'm just curious. Do you have any heroes? Jesus Christ.
Of course it is.
I know. And then that is who he is. So whatever. God, that totally threw me off. His wrestling and his grappling, he has to be making improvements there. He just has to. There's no way around it. So getting him to the ground is going to get harder and harder to do. I don't actually see a ranking here for Gowdy in terms of jiu-jitsu because you really haven't seen it in the UFC. He also got taken down 3 times by OAM, submitted by Packlin, submitted by OAM. So it's probably not that good. So, yeah, Gowdy's not taking him down. Sage should piece him up on the feet. Gowdy's pretty hittable. Sage is the pick here. The line is outrageous.
Oh, no. What is it?
Sage is, I think, he's close to the biggest favorite of the card.
Oh, my God.
Minus 300.
Do you know what he was against Cody Pfister? Do you want to take a guess? Don't look if you don't know.
Minus 600?
Minus 950.
Oh, shit.
He was almost 1,000-point favorite of Cody Pfister. Listen, he looked like it. I mean, he destroyed Cody Pfister, but still, that's just bonkers. Anyway, I think Sage will be fine here. They're being smarter now. They're giving him fights that are much more winnable. His last 2 fights, very, very winnable fights. So, yeah, this is the fight you win. You lose this fight, then I mean, just holy shit, buddy. I mean, it's like, can you imagine if Gowdy or Goody, whatever the hell his name is, goes out there and submits him? I mean, it's just like he'd be done. And at that point, I think he would lose any type of. I mean, I kind of feel bad for the guy because this is it. I mean, if you lose another fight here within your next at least 2, you got to put together a 3-fight win streak here. Right, then you can lose again. But if you
he's
lose
still
again
young,
right
though.
now,
He's so young and so marketable.
I understand, but marketable where? Because if he stays in the UFC, he'll just keep losing. What he has to do is go to another promotion and learn, but he won't be able to do that because what's he going to do? Go to LFA? LFA won't be able to handle him. What are they going to do? So he's in a position where his stardom has really hurt his career because
I want to see Sage on roids and risen.
I want to see Sage buck the fuck up. That's what I want to see. Like what we saw with Jake Matthews. I have been the biggest Jake Matthews hater. And watching Jake Matthews in that fight, gritting his teeth, cursing at his opponent, laughing, smiling, like that's what I want to see from Sage. Like, let's see some grit, man. Let's see some killer instinct. And I don't know if this fight is really going to matter, but I want to see that. And until I do, I don't know. What do you do with a guy like Sage Northcutt, whose stardom has, I think, just stunted his career? But they keep giving him good matchups. They need to keep giving him guys like this. Keep letting the dude build up. Let him keep working on his takedown defense because really that's all that he needs. But here's the thing. Sage is young enough. He's not even in his prime. Sage is not in his athletic prime. Think about that for a second.
He's 21 years old?
That is not you're not in your athletic prime until you're about 25, 26. I mean, that's really when you're at your athletic peak. He's 21 years old. So he has plenty of time. He'll be fine. It's just I'm worried that he won't be able to build up because he's just so famous. He won't be able to get out of the UFC and be in a promotion like LFA. And in the UFC, if he strings together 3 wins, they're going to want to throw him to somebody that he shouldn't be fighting. So we'll see. We'll see how his career continues. That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about this fight. And in this fight, I think Northcutt wins. That is the end of the main card. Is there anything else you want to say before we move on to the prelims?
Yeah, just to circle back, I don't know, stick in my head because I'm trying to. I don't want anybody to think I'm deceiving anyone. I had Bet Tybora. I looked it up while we were talking. I don't know why I inputted the wrong number into Bet MMA Tips. I bet him as a minus 145 favorite. Lewis was the plus 125 dog, and for some reason that's just what I input. So
flipped it.
I flipped it. So I bet my bets on this card. That's all of them for now. I don't think I'm going to be adding any more. The line on the first fight of the day of Oscar Pahota was way too high for me. So my bets on this card: 4 units James Vick minus 210, 3 units Marcin Tybura minus 145, and 3 units on the main event does not go to a decision at minus 285.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to the prelims. We have Carlos Ferreira taking on Flash Jared Gordon. The pick here for me is Jared Gordon. I likes what I sees. I think he's a legit prospect at lightweight here. And he's fought at featherweight as recent as last year, so he could always make a move down to that again as well. So we shall see. But the pick here is Flash Gordon. I think legit prospect. Tell me about Carlos Ferreira though, because he's fought in the UFC since 2014. He hasn't really beaten anybody. But listen, he beat OAM.
2016.
He beat OAM, and that's a big deal. That's not an easy guy to get out of there. And he beat him by decision. He was an underdog in the fight, plus 225. So he obviously is no joke. But, where's he at here? Really, this just comes down to prospect versus burgeoning, kind of mid-tier guy.
Yeah, Diego Ferreira is coming off a 2-year USADA suspension. He popped after fighting OAM. And he took that mandatory 2-year vacation. We've seen guys both physically fall off the cliff, but also, odd enough, and I'd love to find some more research on it, guys' chins, after coming off of these steroid suspensions, seem to be shot. It was odd. Who was it we saw a few weeks ago who went out to who did Islam Makhachev knock out? I don't remember who it was. Fuck. Help me out. Remember who that was 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, Makhachev.
Makhachev knocked out.
Nope.
Another Brazilian.
Oh, it was. Oh my God, I know this too. Why can I not think of it? Yeah, he was coming back to the UFC after a decent little layoff. Oh my gosh.
T-Bow.
The T-Bow, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So, and it's happened a few other times where guys coming off these steroid suspensions seem to be, the chin seems to be shot. So you have that going for it. I think Gordon's going to be able to secure takedowns. He has to be wary of the BJJ of Ferreira because it's solid. But as long as he doesn't get caught in a sub, I think the path to victory is pretty clear. So I'm going to take Jared Gordon. Let's call it second round TKO, ground and pound.
Fantastic. All righty, let's move on down. We're going to go through these pretty quickly because I got to do an interview here in a little bit. We have Jeffrey Joffrey. It could be Joffrey. I'm not sure. Jeffrey Neal taking on Brian Camozzi, baby. I never want to pick Brian Camozzi. Brian Camozzi is a guy who why do I feel like I want to pick Brian Camozzi here? It really
Yep.
Are you picking Brian Camozzi?
I am.
It's because I'm just thinking. I'm like, I watched a little bit. Obviously, listen, his last fight in LFA, first round knockout. He goes out of the Contender Series, gets a first round knockout. There really doesn't seem to be any reason why Brian Camozzi, who honestly has just been terrible, would get a win here. But here's the thing. Guess who was also coming into the UFC with multiple finishes against people in RFA, right? And then he comes in and he fights Randy Brown and Chad Laprise. Both of those guys are not walkthroughs.
This is the easiest fight he's had.
They both have their issues. Randy Brown has his issues. Chad Laprise has his issues. But at the end of the day, that's legit. They're legit competition. Those are legit level UFC fighters. This is by far the easiest fight that Brian Camozzi is going to have or has had so far in the UFC, right? This is basically he's back on the regional scene and he's fighting Jeffrey Neal, right? He's back on the regional scene. That's what this fight is. And it's going to be so easy for everybody to just go, Brian Camozzi sucks. He's going to lose, whatever, and just move on down. I just don't be so sure here, man. And you're not, and you sound like you're there with me too. From what I can see from Neal, he's had some issues, man. He's had some issues in the past, and I don't know. I'm just not all that impressed. So. And more so, I just think Camozzi, there's a reason why he had not just his brother, obviously, who's also kind of overhyped, but, there's a reason why he had the hype even outside of his brother. I mean, he's a good fighter. He's just not a great UFC fighter. Well, I don't know if Neal is either. So I'm picking Camozzi just because I just think that his back's against a wall here. And if Neal loses, he'll be fine. He'll fight another fight in the UFC, at least one more. Camozzi's back is against the wall here, and this is your easiest competition. I think it's steadily gone down. I think Randy Brown was toughest. I think Chad Laprise is right underneath him. They're pretty close, but I would rank them that way. And then now you got Neal. This is the easiest guy you've gotten, so I think he gets the job done here.
Yeah, Neal is the guy I was trying to think of earlier with the funky nickname. It's Jeffrey Hands of Steel Neal. And that's kind of let you know what he's going to do. I think he also is a striker, and if I remember right, he throws these just looping punches. And Camozzi's issue is he doesn't string together combinations. He's got good reach, but he's very single. He throws single strikes. Hopefully he loosens up a little here. I don't think he's going to have to worry about the takedowns of Neal. Camozzi, I know he's been finished twice, but they were later finishes. He's shown to be pretty durable, and I don't think that Neal is as tough as Brown or Laprise. This is betting wise, to me, the definition of a dog or pass, because Jeffrey Neal is a minus 210 favorite, and Brian Camozzi's plus 175, and he's super live. He's experienced. Like I said, he's got distance control, decent striking. Plus 175, and he's cheap on DraftKings, which interests me. He's the pick here because I haven't seen enough out of Neal to make me think he can put together a full fight. And Camozzi hasn't shown chin issues. He's not getting blitzed in the first round. He's kind of succumbing to just minutes of punishment. I don't think that's Neal's game here. Neal's going to swing for the fences, try and put him away quick. I think Camozzi survives and kind of picks his way to a decision in his first UFC win. And everyone's off of him because they see Camozzi. They remember Chris Camozzi can't stop a takedown. Brian Camozzi's takedown defense is much better, but it's not the matchup here. The matchup is Jeffrey Neal making his UFC debut. I'll take Brian Camozzi.
Fantastic. Moving on down, we have a flyweight bout. Joby Sanchez taking on Roberto Sanchez. I assume.
Don't make the joke. Don't make the joke.
I assume there's no relation.
There's not. I am so sick, and maybe I'm just the old man curmudgeon. If I see one more fucking person say, "Oh, Sanchez is going to win this week," I'm going to fucking snap. We get it. Their last name's the same. Just grow up and move on. Holy shit.
Well, my pick for this week, definitely someone by the last name Sanchez.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
We have. Listen, I don't know how everybody else feels, but don't you want to see Joby Sanchez win this fight? Don't worry about who's going to win. Don't worry about what your thought process is. Ignore all that. Don't you want to see Joby Sanchez win this fight?
Yes. He
got cut from the UFC. Okay, he goes to the Contender Series, wins the decision. It wasn't good enough to get signed. He fights another fight in a regional promotion, and then fights again on the Contender Series. I think the only person to do that, correct? Only person to fight twice in the Contender Series. And the second time he does it, he gets a finish. And then because of the finish, he gets signed. And you got to root for this guy. Like, you got to want him to win. I would say of all the fights on this card, because I like storylines. you've watched so many fights that shit stops meaning something to you unless there's a storyline. Fights just start blending together for me. So I got to have storylines. I'm interested in the Sage Northcutt fight because I'm interested in what his trajectory is. He's 21, blah, blah, blah. We've already talked about it. I'm interested in watching the Joby Sanchez fight because, man, how can you not root for the guy? How can you not root for the guy? I'm interested in obviously watching our main, basically the top 3 fights on the main card I'm interested in. And then other than that, everything else, I'm kind of just whatever. So, I mean, those are the fights. If you had a card that was the Joby fight, the Sage fight, and then the top 3 fights on the main card, I'm good to go. Make that the main card. That's the only fights you got. Boom. I'm ready. Ready to rock and roll. But yeah, I really want to watch this fight. And it helps that I really do think he will get the win here. Nothing against Roberto Sanchez. I do like him a lot from what I've seen. Even though he made his debut in the UFC and got choked out pretty quickly. But I liked him coming into the fight. I still like the guy. I like the cut of his jib. But I think Joby Sanchez gets it done here, man. He's been there before. He's dealt with the pressure. He's had to claw his way here. I just think you got to go with him.
Yeah, I've been back and forth on this fight. I started off with Roberto, even just earlier today, on Roberto Sanchez. Just in my mind, I was seeing him getting some takedowns, Joby really being unable to get back up and just, not that Roberto was going to dominate, but kind of just hold him there, get a takedown in the first and second or the first and third round, win a relatively boring 29-28 decision. It's kind of how I saw it going. I started looking at it a little more. Roberto Sanchez, he got a takedown against Joseph Morales. Morales popped up and it seemed to just break the spirit of Sanchez, which I thought was odd. I didn't really catch that the first time I watched it. I watched it again today. That's definitely concerning, and I will give credit to the person who pointed that out to me, was Daniel Levy at Half the Battle. Make sure to check out his podcast, which is also on the MMA Today website. I'm sure he'll mention that as well. But he kind of pointed that out. I went back and I saw it. It broke Roberto. Joby is going to be much more mentally tough. I don't love fighters who fight at a Jackson Wink. They are having a real tough go lately. Just loss after loss after loss. That's kind of a side note here. I think these guys, I think what it comes down to is kind of that mental toughness. I think they're relatively well matched. And just that experience advantage of Joby Sanchez, I think he's going to be able to stop enough takedowns. I also went back. It's tough too because Wilson Hayes will make your takedown defense stats look real bad. I did glance at it first, but Wilson Hayes took him down 9 times in his UFC debut. So that's going to blow up your stats. JP Buys did take him down twice, but eventually Sanchez got a second round finish, and he actually hit a reversal in that fight, I believe. That was impressive. So thinking now that Joby can reverse position on the bottom adds a whole other element to it. It's still a close fight. I'm not terribly confident, but I'm leaning Joby Sanchez now. I did start the day on Roberto Sanchez, so clearly I'm waffling on this one. This is going to be a key fight on DraftKings, by the way, because there's not a lot of underdogs. I'm done picking underdogs, by the way, and it was the only ones I picked were Brian Camozzi and Yancy Medeiros. That's it. So this is a mid-range fight that you kind of need exposure to. I'm on Joby Sanchez.
Okay, keep it that way. We have Sarah Moraes taking on Pudilava.
Oh, fuck. Let's save 2 minutes. Let's just...
I mean, she had a fun fight against Lena Landsberg. She lost, but it was a fun fight. And then she goes in and fights Kim. I don't recall that one being a very good fight. It's not jumping out at me. Her fight against Lena Landsberg was fun, though. This is
more oof for Sarah Morris. I don't think she's any good.
Sure. Listen, this is too... I mean... Sarah, at least her losses are against Pena and Andrade, right? I mean, it's hard to hold. And before that, in Invicta, she lost to Pennington. And she actually has a win over Pena. Of course, she lost to her, but she does have a win, but I think it's because of an injury. But anyway, her only losses are against Raquel Pennington, who's about to fight for the title, Juliana Pena, we all know her, and Jessica Andrade, we all know her. Those are her losses. That's legit, man.
Who are her wins? Let's be fair.
Ashley Evans Smith, but she beat Ashley Evans Smith in the way that you're supposed to, which is by arm locking her in the first round. Like that's how you're supposed to win the fight. Had she won a decision against Smith, I would have basically said it was a loss. But she didn't. She arm locked her in the first round. That's a good win.
But she was never going to beat Ashley Evans Smith by. She was a plus 180 underdog in that
Ashley
fight.
Evans Smith, which is saying
and
a
she
lot.
should have been. That's what bothers me is that Morris's only path to victory is a sub. She's a great BJJ player, and we've talked about it plenty of times.
She beat Peggy Morgan when Peggy Morgan was 2-0 on that season, the Ultimate Fighter, in the same exact way. Arm locked her.
That's it. That's all she has.
She beat Christina Berry in AFC, which I think is that Alaskan. Is that Alaskan or is that a Canadian?
Alaskan fighting. Alaskan fighting.
Or is it Canadian promotion? All right, doesn't matter. AFC 11, catch weight of 140, arm lock. So she has a decision win on her record against Alexis. I've seen that girl fight, like DeFrenzy or DeFrins or whatever it is. She's
Dufresne.
Dufresne. Yeah, she's no longer in the UFC. She was not very good. She withdrew from her Bellator fight at 181 and then missed weight at 189 and had the fight get canceled. So yeah, she's trash. And outside of Ashley Evans Smith, that's the only other win in the UFC. I get it, and I'm definitely picking Pudilova here, and I would rather have her win anyway. I just think she's more interesting for the division, and I also think, if I remember correctly, she has mentioned that she's able to make 125, and she's 5'8", so she might be a decent little 125er if she was able to do that. So anyway, yeah, the pick is her, but it's two low-level female fighters. I mean, good Lord. I mean, whatever. Your guess is always as good as mine.
Pudilova is minus 160. I thought about betting this, but I can't because she's not good enough. I know I keep saying Samurai Morris is bad. I think I'm going to regret not betting this, but I don't have the confidence that Pudilova has the fight IQ to not go to the ground. I just can't. I can't put money sitting there praying that, because Sarah Morris could pull guard. She could, shoot a desperate double, try and, recover guard that way. There's so many things that could happen. I'm just not confident in Pudilova fighting smart. She should just stay on the outside, pick her apart. Morris's striking isn't good, and she should get a comfortable decision, so that's the pick. But if this fight goes to ground, Sarah Morris is a high-level black belt. She's good on the ground. It's the only path to victory, and that could happen.
All right, my interview just got moved up a couple minutes here, so we need to go ahead and finish up. Alex Moreno taking on Josh Berkman. Josh Berkman does not belong in the UFC. I don't know why he's still in the UFC. This is absolutely batshit crazy that he is fighting again. The last thing that he was doing was trying to pick a fight with Colby Covington, who would absolutely destroy him in every possible way that you could ever imagine. If Berkman stepped into the cage with Colby Covington, he might literally die. The last person that Josh Berkman beat was in 2016. It was KJ Noons, which means absolutely nothing. And before that, he won in the World Series of Fighting against Tyler Stinson in 2014. He has one UFC win and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. Josh Berkman is trash. I don't care how good Alex Moreno is. Alex Moreno is going to probably walk through him, which is not saying a whole lot. So, Alex Moreno's the pick. Josh Berkman is trash.
Yeah, I like Moreno too, but I keep everyone like you is Moreno going through the Berkman reel, which you should, and it makes me go, God, is Berkman going to get his first
Berkman going to get a win? Yeah,
because Moreno just lost to Nakamura. He got taken down twice. He can be taken.
He lost a split. Listen, he lost a split.
Right.
Yeah,
I get it. There's a path there. Moreno should light him up on the feet, but overhand. The overhand.
Moreno's going to knock him out. Moreno's going to knock Berkman out. He's going to knock him out.
Unless Berkman closes the distance and get a takedown, it's the only way he survives this fight. Moreno should knock him out. I'm wary because everyone's saying it. Everyone's saying Berkman shot, and I go, motherfucker.
He's going to win. Go. You're like, God damn it, he's going to win.
It's that fight I just have the feeling about.
All right, and last but not least, we have Tim Williams fighting Oscar Pichota. Thoughts, feelings, concerns?
Tim Williams has the best nickname on the entire card.
Oh, what is it?
I loved him when he was fighting the in the Ultimate Fighter. He was the guy,
the South Jersey Strangler.
Because he said it on the show. He knows he looks like a serial killer, and he does. He does, and he's funny. He's a nice enough guy. He knows exactly what he looks like, and I love that kind of self-awareness. He's going to lose to Oscar Pichota, who's just an interesting prospect out of Poland. I think he's a little better everywhere, a little better on the feet, can grapple. He's all around better than Tim Williams. But I like Tim Williams as a person, so I'm kind of rooting for him. The line was too heavy on Peixoto. I think it was minus 280. I can't bet that here. But he should win this fight pretty easily.
Fantastic. All right, man. I will same place next week, same time. We good to go?
Isn't next week the Just Bleed card?
Oh, I don't know. I have not looked. I've not looked ahead.
Let's. I know you got an interview, but let me just pull it up real quick. I think next week is really good. I think next week is Condit Brown and Emmett Stevens. No, wrong card. I'm wrong. It is Emmett Stevens.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
When is Condit Matt Brown? That's what I want to see.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's some shit right
That's
there.
the
So
card.
what would that might be well off in the future, and I'm just fantasizing about it because I don't even see it on the upcoming schedule here. So you know where my mind is. But
Right.
yeah, I'm looking forward to next week, and I'm ready to go. We got a fun string of fights here. 223 which I'm going to, is going to be lit.
Yeah, dude. What an awesome card to have near you.
We got Hanato Moicano and Calvin Kattar got added today.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
Whew.
Yeah. All right, man. I will talk to you next week.
Have a good week. Good luck, guys.
See you guys.